Hey guys, welcome back to Elablo. This is part 4 of Undead Unluck series. In the previous episode, we saw that Fuko accidentally befriended one of the 10 members of negators that want to kill her and Andy. After Andy briefed her about their situation to Fuko, Gina goes for a hug instead of attacking, but Andy isn't interested in hugging his opponent and draws his sword. Gina finds Andy to be mean because he doesn't want to reunite with her after 40 years, so she thinks he's evil and attacks him every chance she gets. But before anything else can happen, Fuko asks him if she is the person who captured Andy 50 years ago, and after a short pause, he confirms that she captured him, and thus she was tracking Andy when he was a federal prisoner. It doesn't make sense to Fuko because Gina seems to be her age, but Andy chimes in and says she was 16 at the time, so she must have been at least 66. Yes? But you should never talk about the age of a 60-year-old high school student. She uses her powers to seal Andy's mouth, and with no other way to free him, he cuts parts of his body in front of her. As Gina tries to kiss Andy's chapped lips, he regenerated before she was able to kiss him. Andy regains insight and tells Fuko that he must resist Gina's powers. But Gina sees him too close to Fuko and shouts to Fuko that she fell in love with Andy first. When they first met, she was a hunter and he was a huntress. She catches him, but all the seats at the table are taken, so Andy is locked in a cell. At that point, she went to him and apologized for bothering him as she had to obey orders. But Andy told her not to worry. He lost the battle and has nothing to hate. But he says he will break out eventually, and when he does, he hopes to fight again and never loses. These words hit her with the perfect combination to make her heart come back to him. But 10 years later, he escaped from prison without saying a word and went into hiding for 40 years. But after meeting Fuko, he changed his pattern and started going here and there, leaving a clear trail for her to follow. As she was saying that he'd throw a grenade at her. Despite the explosion, Gina seems unharmed. She was a bit mad but continues her speech saying that she sent the other two to find Andy and that she is glad that he was able to overcome it. So now there is an empty seat at the table, and that was all he needed to be safe and have his freedom. Meanwhile, Andy throws a flash grenade that temporarily blinds her, but despite being disoriented, she still has her barrier around her. But at least he's gathering good information about what's kind of attack work on her and what's doesn't. Fuko asks about the war friends that were supposed to help him, but he says they are all dead. This makes sense as they would all be around 80 years old. But he tells Gina to relax because he knows how to counter her. He uses his brain to analyze everything he has seen about Gina so far. First, she solidified the lake, and then she used some kind of telekinesis to make it float. And lastly, she created invisible barriers and stairs. If he thinks he can solidifying things, what is she solidifying to create the barrier? And if it was only hardened, he would still have to cut it with a sword. Gina throws her hat at them, and as it flies away with Andy's lower body get destroyed, he sees something that can gauge of Gina's abilities. As he lands, Gina told Andy that he is being held by Fuko because he had to protect her and said that things would have been easier if Fuko had died on that ship. But Andy doesn't care, because in his own words, fate or not, Fuko is his. And he uses the word jackpot again to flustering Fuko. He won't let her die until he dies. Now Gina is slightly jealous. She is ready to pounce and grab his head like last time to keep him by her side forever. Fuko thinks it's crazy that Andy would criticize her right after she caught him 50 years ago, but he says he finally knows what Gina's denying and can handle it now. He puts a grenade in his mouth. Gina is like, "Wait, what's that?" Then he cut off his head and threw it into the sky. The grenade explodes, covering the beach with Andy's juice, and Andy says he's sure now. While his hair is still on fire, he has said she is able to cancel changes in an object's physical form and use it to create an invisible barrier that blocks air changes. Since Gina can't do anything about the undead, she isn't too worried about Andy finding out about her abilities. Andy agrees, but hears Fuko retrieving his body through her shirt and asking her for help. After 3 episodes of insanity, Fuko introduces herself as the Unluck generator and presses her melon firmly into Andy's back for quality skin-to-skin contact. Gina gets excited and angry when she sees Fuko's double D over her man. Because when it comes to the size of her breasts, Gina was like, "Wait, what kind of breasts are those?" She starts to say that it's clear that Fuko tempted him with airbags, but that in 20 years the airbags will be soft. But Fuko insists that her melons are forever round and plump. Gina replies that she is the only person who can remain unchanged forever because her abilities have not changed. However, Andy is quick to point out that her abilities are external targets. There are 2 types of abilities. Abilities like Andy's Undead, which only affect you, and abilities like Fuko's Unluck, which only affect others. Therefore, it is confident that how the changes are used will only affect external targets. Gina said that she can use it on herself because she does not change even after 50 years, but it is the miracle of makeup that makes her look the same. And as for the chest, where is it? Even the fat thigh was pulling lost its suspension. He is convinced that she cannot use his powers on everything that include organic things. Everything he just said is true, but that's part of the reason upset her so much. So she uses her powers to throw a punch at Andy, but he dodges and flies away. Andy says she doesn't have to be mad because she likes it that, and he likes the old lady's ass. However, she is still angry and throw a punch, but he dodge it again because he can see the hand of the air coming towards him. So he's solved a problem, but he still hasn't figured out what to do with it. Remove the obstacles around you. Fuko notices something, so she says something, and Andy, still wearing her shirt, turns and asks her what she saw. She says Gina is mad at Andy and has a fence to protect her, so instead of running, she walks towards them and looks weird. Andy realizes too and tells Fuko that she's done a good job while his face buried, but now that he's figured out how to get there, he needs to find a place to prepare for potential setbacks. The idea is to take advantage of the Unluck. However, while flying, he hits his head on something floating in the air and falls into a deep lake. Then the laser fires and hits Andy in the ball, but he is still good. Gina reminds them that she's investigating a threat believed to be lurking in the area, so they use the opportunity to tear the island apart to find it. She said, "I only did it because I had a quota, but now that Fuko and Andy are here, I don't have to worry about meeting my quota anymore, so we'll call it a day." She wants to be with her loved one forever, just like she was then. No matter how many people she hurts, she stays in the organization to keep up with Andy. Andy is able to block the oncoming attack with his sword, ensuring that he is the only one who dies. But Gina tells him that even if Fuko can never become a member, he won't be able to handle the ruthless tasks the Union has assigned him. Then he discovered something about Gina's barrier and finally put his plan into action. There is a small hole at the bottom of the barrier that she passes through, but the hole is so small that she can use it to walk. It's small that only stick his head. Even if he enter to use Unluck, she will kick him out. So they enter the lake, uses his blood to cover the barrier and goes underwater to prevent Gina from seeing what he's doing. Then insert the sword under the barrier, turn it upside down and open the hole. When the opportunity arises, Fuko throws Andy's head. Gina is unable to react as Andy, positioned within the protective barrier, is likely to unleash a light-based attack, specifically a death laser from the ship. The laser pierces through a mountain, and as Fuko observes, the previously frozen lake returns to a liquid, indicating the release of Gina's powers. On the lakeside near the mountains, Andy, alongside a severely injured Gina, prepares to deliver a final blow using one of his finger bullets. Fuko intervenes, halting Andy from shooting Gina. Andy explains to Fuko that Gina, having carried out numerous executions for the Union, realizes that despite their efforts, nothing in the world has changed. Doubting the mission's goal to save the world, Gina urges them to leave as her anti-aging abilities are fading, and she doesn't want to be seen in her weakened state. However, Andy comforts her, sharing a kiss and expressing that a few wrinkles won't diminish her beauty. Shortly afterward, Gina peacefully passes away, and that is that. If you like this video, consider subscribe to enjoy content like this every week. Peace out.